happens at infinity? Really, all of this is predicated on the fact that if you have a big number in the denominator, that is going to go to 0 as x goes to plus or minus infinity. And the reason for that is, like, if you have 1 over a million, again, that gives you a super small decimal. So that is a small decimal. It's not a big number. So if you have 1 over a big when you plug in, it's going to 0. And if you have a big number when you plug in the numerator, nothing's going to 0 there. If you have a big number like a million, it's going to continue to be going to a big number. So if you kind of think about that, specifically if you think about if the big number is in the denominator, then it's going to 0, then these limits will make a little bit more sense. So if you have a number over x to a power p, that is going to go to 0 because x is getting super big. So this is going to be a big number in the denominator, so it is going to be going to 0. Now, if you have just a constant, again, nothing is changing there, so whether x is going to infinity or 2 or whatever, it's going to be that constant. And if you have x in the numerator, then what's going to happen in that case is it's just going to continue to be big. It's not going to diminish down to 0. So those are your basic limits, and now we're going to look at number 261. So the first step is always to plug in. Now, if I plug in, I have 1 over 3 times infinity plus 6. Now remember our basic limit laws. If we have 1 or just a number over a big number, we can say that that is going to 0. So we could say that this limit, as x goes to infinity, is going to be equal to 0. Now, another way that you could do this is you could divide by the highest power that is in the denominator. And if you did it that way, I just want to show, so there's nothing wrong with going through, like just plug in, you get 0, you're good to go. But if you want like a method that's always going to work forever and a day, what you could do is you could divide by the highest power in the denominator, which in this case would be x to the first. So you would have 1 over x over 3x over x plus 6 over x. And then you would be using your basic limit law at that point. So this 1 over x, because the x is in the denominator, that would be going to 0. This 6 over x would be going to 0. And then the 3x over x, those x's cancel out, and you would be left with 0 over 3, which would just give you 0. So either way is fine. You could divide by the highest power in the denominator, but really for this question, once you plug in, you have enough clarity because you have 1 over a big number, so that will be going to 0.